आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. That which is mithya is Ishvara Srishti, Ishvara Abhivyakti. It is Ishvara's creation. Nay, it is in fact Ishvara's manifestation. It is a form of Ishvara. Therefore, it does not have the capacity to cause disturbance. The Jagat is a objective manifestation, a benign manifestation, if you will. It is neither good nor it is bad nor anything in between. It simply is. And what is Ishvara, because what is infallible, over which we have no control. And even when we think we have control, very soon we are told we don't have control. We are shown in so many ways. You can control the temperature in your room. You have a knob. You can go this way, that way, and say, "Oh, I am in charge of the weather." But then all these big hurricanes and thunderstorms, everything that keep coming and lashing, and they are more and more because of, again, our actions on the environment and the effects thereof. Over that we have no control. That is why it is called weather. You don't know whether it is going to affect you or not. That is why it is called weather. And so this way, the Jagat simply is. It is a manifestation. And who is this person relating to the manifestation? That person is the individual Jiva. So the Jiva relates to the Jagat. And if the Jiva relates to the Jagat with an overlay of one's own subjectivity, meaning mithya within mithya, then the consequences are very, very dire. That is when we have this phenomenon called samsara, the relating of the jiva to the jagat with an eclipse of one's own subjectivity. Mithya within mithya within mithya within mithya, because it keeps on compounding. And this is what we talked about from the standpoint of the individual unconscious. The unconscious mind has its own projection. It's almost like the Jiva says, why should Bhagavan be the only one projecting things? I can also project, because after all, the Upanishad says I am one with Bhagavan. I can also project. What can you project? Confusion. What else can you project? Some, wrong perception. Some idealized notions called Shobhana Adhyasa, which come crashing down and then turn into Ashobhana Adhyasa, negative projections about a person, about a thing, whatever it is. So that is all. Those are the things the Jiva can project. Very sad, can't even hold a candle to Ishvara's infallible projections. And here the Jiva is busy projecting this, that, or the other. And then we also hear in the same Shruti, in the Upanishads, about the veiling power of the Lord, Maya Shakti, which manifests for Ishvara as all knowledge, makes Ishvara Sarvagya, all knowing, and then makes the Jiva all what? Small knowing. Blesses the Jiva with Ajnanam, the shadow side of knowledge is the opposite of it, Ajnanam. And the jiva says, "I not only do I have this veiling power, I also can veil. What can you veil? You know, WAIL. That of course you can do, but then the unconscious at the individual level is that quote unquote personal subjective reality that is veiled from oneself, and then at the collective level, samashti level, this ajnanam can be removed, the veiling power can be removed. Why? Because the ability to gain the knowledge of the self is given. The desire for this self knowledge also given. The ability to understand the truth of myself given. The mechanisms for being taught this knowledge, ashrams, gurus, etc., given. The desire for this knowledge inbuilt in the human being, in the jiva, given. And what can possibly come in the way? One's own subjectivity. And that, as I said yesterday, that has to be reckoned with, because already there is mithya. And then if that mithya has an overlay of one's own mithya in the form of all kinds of notions, starting with I am unwanted, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, somebody else is more important, no matter how much I accomplish, the accolades go to somebody else, I can never get moksha, the neighbors can get moksha because I'm playing the talk so loudly that they are hearing and enjoying it. They can get moksha, I can never get moksha. These are all notions. These notions have to be healed. And then one part of this healing we talked about, mothering the inner children that keep coming out of the unconscious mind. They have to be reparented. And then you need a co-parent. You can't do it by yourself. Oh, should I rely on the significant other? Not at all. The co-parent is Bhagavan. Give the children to Bhagavan. Get some parenting skills. Pray for them to not disturb you during your shravanam, during your listening, during your pursuit. That's why we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti 3 times to ward off all kinds of obstacles, most importantly, the obstacles coming from within in the form of these kinds of notions. So this we have talked about. And the other way is to re-mint one's identity as a devotee. Because on the shores of this identity of a devotee, there is safety. The waters and the undercurrents of samsara cannot get one. It's a wonderful island before reaching, quote unquote, the shore of moksha. A little, what can we say, a halfway house, so to speak, a little rehab place where you can collect yourself, where you can take a breath and enjoy the island. Take some walks, and there are no sharks, there are no tendrils of seaweed trying to get you, no waves, tsunamis, undercurrents, riptides, no such thing is there. It's the island called Devotee Island. And this is a good place to reach, gasping for breath, glub, 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 and then pulling yourself onto this island. You are on very, very safe ground. And why is that? Because all other identities that one has crafted for oneself or one has inherited by birth, As soon as one is born, the identities are already waiting. One is automatically a daughter or a son. You may be sleeping in the nursery in a little crib, but then the people looking from the window, they are saying, this is my child. The mother and the father, you are already a son and a daughter even before you know how to say the word. So like this, all other identities come: student, sister, brother, and then employer, employee, and all these other in between. These are all main identities: significant other, spouse, and then mother, father, all these identities. Along with that, so many things, caregiver, and then what else, uh, picker upper of other people's messes. And then these are all nice words that you pick up in America. Picker upper, do they add an er to everything. And so there are all these interim identities, and all these identities are totally dysfunctional because they are leaning on mithya within mithya within mithya. And then even if you remove the mithya within mithya, it is also again mithya, because they are leaning on, all of them are leaning on Bhagavan. And so this identity is just a provisional identity, because it is all leaning on the finite, and therefore it is dysfunctional. How is it dysfunctional? No matter how you identify yourself, one is left wanting and lacking, one is boxed into a particular identity, unable to see the Sarvatma Bhava, the oneness of everything, because you're clinging to this identity. Without it, I am nothing. OMG, I have to have this. And this is a big travesty. And therefore, shedding these identities, actually, they don't even need to be shed. They need to be overlaid. They need to be, the identity of the devotee has to be front and center, and the identity of the bhakta takes over the identities of all other roles that one plays in life. Takes over son, daughter, mother, father, employer, employee, friend, etc., spouse, all these things. How? Because in the identities that one has crafted for oneself, or one has inherited due to familial setup, there is some sense of lack. Connected to oneself as son and daughter, one suffers from omissions and commissions. Connected to oneself as spouse, there are omissions and commissions. All these lead to a permanent sense of guilt. And then connected to other people's identification, connected to yourself, like your own mother, father, caregiver, whoever it is, there are omissions and commissions. So one is doubly hit: one, by one's own omissions and commissions; two, by the omissions and commissions of others around oneself. So there is brewing resentment, there is fear, there are tears, there is always this sense that everything is finite, yet I want the infinite. So the only way to reach the infinite is try to make the finite infinite. It never works. Therefore, go straight away to the infinite. Go straight away to Bhagavan and say, I am a devotee. This is a cultivated practice. The sadhana of becoming a devotee is a very important sadhana, described in the Yoga Sutras as Ishvara Pranidhana, a complete surrender to Bhagavan. The surrender comes later. First, at least, we learn to relate. And that relationship is a very, very crucial step on the path of Tat-Tvam-Asi, of assimilating the message of Tat-Tvam-Asi. One remints oneself as a devotee. First, one understands everything is Sat. Two, one understands everything that Sat is Bhagavan. 3, one understands from the standpoint of this jaded, faded jiva which I am, the only way to relate to Bhagavan is that of a devotee. And so this Bhagavan that one relates to has to come alive. Ishvara Pranidhana is not just some kind of an abstraction. It is making Bhagavan alive for you. That's only with something that is present you can have a relationship. You know, you can do that. And that's why in America, some enterprising person came up with this concept of pet rock. He just took some wayside rock, polished it little bit, and then sold it as pet rock. Because the people are so alienated, something to relate to. They are not ready for a potted plant because it needs watering and nurturing. They are certainly not ready for kitty or doggy because that needs a lot of attention. This is actually very clever. Some very clever person came up with this idea of pet rock. And then from pet rock, what do? You graduate into chia pet, something that needs to be watered, and it's just flax seeds shaped in like a turtle or a tortoise, and then you water it. And even if you forget, it's okay because it's only supposed to last a few weeks. It was called chia pet. And then, so you graduate, you learn to take care of the pet rock, and you look at it every day and say, I love you, rock. You make me rock. You are my world. Wonderful. And then, and then what? And then you graduate to chia pet. After that, some kind of a succulent plant which doesn't need to be watered too much. Even if you forget to water it for 1 week, it's okay. Some kind of like a jade plant, or even better, in California there is some air plant. You dip your fingers in water and go like this once a week. You do prokshanam, and then it is alive. It's a fresh aerian plant, because this person is not capable. It's a jaded, faded jiva, not capable of responsibilities of any kind, or forget relationships. So then you learn how to relate to this plant. Then you graduate into, what is that, some kind of a lucky plant which just grows. You just water it every other day. And then finally, then what? After that, what? Shivalinga, the universal pet rock. This is what it is. So our ancients knew this pet rock concept long ago. This person who is just a copycat, the one who came up with this concept of pet rock. Shivalinga was our pet rock, nameless, as close to nameless, formless Bhagavan. If all the forms of Sat, if all the forms were just made into one form, it is Shivalinga. Eminently huggable, and you can relate to it. Shiva Shakti together. And that's how, in the ancient times, that's how it was. This is how one grew. This is how one related to Bhagavan. It has to become real. You have to be able to talk. Even if other people think you're a mad person, you have to be able to talk to Bhagavan. And that's why we have, the works like Sri Rudram, where you talk to Bhagavan. Don't harm me. All your arrows, O Rudra, are pointed towards me. Look at this fellow. This one has transgressed dharma so often. Go here. Change the course of the arrows. Protect me. Love me, because I don't know what that is like. Help me. Make me into someone that can feel that you are my protector. This helplessness has to be taken there. The inner children have to go on a field trip to visit Lord Shiva and be made to, and hopefully left behind there ultimately. That is the idea. And therefore, in other religions, what is blasphemy? If you say something against Bhagavan, it becomes blasphemous. In our tradition, it is seen as prayer. It is all prayer. In the Sri Rudram, you say, "Oh, you idiot, you tell Bhagavan this. What kind of karma have you given me? Are you blind? Drape. Drape means you terrible looking one. Not a good looking Bhagavan, terrible looking one. Why? Because I am looking at Bhagavan with my mithya within mithya subjective eyes. In my subjective vision, Bhagavan is this cruel fellow with arrows directed mainly at me. And Bhagavan being free of those projections, free of subjectivity, has the ability to absorb without really getting affected by your subjectivity and deflect it elsewhere. That's why all the icons in the Hindu tradition are smiling and happy. They disarm you. And this blessing hand and a beautiful smile on the face does all the work. So you can tell Bhagwan, what were you thinking when you gave me this idiotic family? What were you thinking when you blessed my marriage with this idiot? What were you thinking when you gave me these kind of children who are impossible? This is all prayer. These are not rants. These are prayers because they are the beginning level ways of relating to that Lord and climbing onto the shore called devotion. There are many prayers in the Vedas that give way to the individual frustration, that demonstrate and in fact ratify and validate the individual frustration and the distance, the felt distance, which is again mithya within with mithya, from oneself and Bhagavan. There are many prayers like this. And so this is a very important step to oneness, to assimilating this message, this vision of Tat-Tvam-Asi. You are the whole. Bhagavan has to come alive for you. And if Bhagavan, and we have some very simple practices. Have a little puja altar, a puja corner, a puja closet, a puja shoe box, whatever it is. Have a little place where you have where you invoke something sacred. That's why we have the concept of Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata is wonderful. You can invoke Bhagavan in any name, any form, anyhow, doesn't matter. This Ishta Devata concept in the Hindu tradition is just lovely. And then you just offer some water, some dry fruits. They are ultimately for you, antioxidants. But then you just offer it to Bhagavan first, and then it becomes prasada. You grow into acceptance. Every day you eat the prasada off your altar, and it helps you to understand that whatever comes in the jagat is this prasada alone. This is the main qualification, growing into bhakti, growing into shraddha. Shraddha means taking the teachings with reverence and with complete acceptance, with devotion and reverence. So one grows into that. And when one complains all that one wants to Bhagavan, one forgets to complain to one's fellow beings. This is kind of nice. Try it. And so there is less drama in one's life when there is more Rama in one's life. Yeah, the D goes away. This is very nice. So the more the Rama in one's life, less the drama, the more the growth, more accommodation, more emotional stability, more embracing of other people's so-called failures, so-called omissions and commissions. And when one reaches this level of growth and acceptance, one becomes ready for the message of Tat-Tvam-Asi. And what is this message? The message is very simple. In fact, 9/10 of Vedanta is preparation, 1/10 is assimilation of the knowledge. Because it's more of dropping of the ignorance rather than trying to, drill something new. This is something already known. This is something which is reiterated in the Upanishads. And the vision is very, very, very simple. It is not complicated. And if you are equipped with the correct antahkarana, with a prepared antahkarana, a prepared heart, then the knowledge just walks in and demands a cup of tea. And meaning it's going to stay. It's not going to immediately leave. It's not going to leave at all. And so, what is this vision? This vision, Tat-Tvam-Asi, is like an equation. The equation has two sides to it. Like, like what? 5 plus 4, okay, is equal to 100 minus 91. And you show this to an 8-year-old, and the 8-year-old is confused. There is an equal sign. On the left hand side, there are single digits and a plus sign. On the right hand side, 3 digits, 2 digits, and a minus sign. How can the two be the same? You have to go on both the sides and arrive at this. The 80-year-old cannot say to the school teacher who is showing this equation, I believe you, madam. Yes, you must be correct because you are saying this. This is not based on belief. This is based on understanding. So, what is 5 plus 4? Don't say 9. That is an example. Okay, we know that it is 9. What does 5 plus 4 stand for? 5 plus 4 stands for the jaded, faded, sad, mad, bad, feeling bad jiva. This is the jiva. And then jiva plus complexes, individual plus complexes, individual plus notions, individual plus disappointments, individual plus raga dvesha. And who is this individual? Sat. It is Sat because everything is Sat. The individual is also, this is not reductionism. The individual, the truth of the individual is also Sat. Because when you remove the complaints, then there is only Sat. Sat plus complaints, Jiva. Sat plus sorrow, Jiva. This is what the individual is. So this is how you work on one side of the equation. The Jiva is, what is Jiva? Jiva is Sat plus complexes. Sat plus complaints, Sat plus sorrow, Sat plus lack, Sat plus raga, Sat plus dvesha, Sat plus strong preferences, in other words, and Sat plus strong prejudices. Now, all these, what kind of a plus is it? All these pluses, does Sat need these pluses in order to be Sat? Does Satchidananda need the plus? Say no, so we can move on. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Satchidananda is whole, Satchidananda limitless, Satchidananda complete. That is why we spent a lot of time unfolding what this Satchidananda is. It is whole. It is you. So what kind of a plus is it? It's a plus that that had better be subtracted. It is not an intrinsic plus. It is not adding anything from adding anything to Satchidananda Atma. It is not taking anything away from Satchidananda Atma. In other words, you can try it on you can see if you can experience this right now in real time. If you stop complaining, do you cease to exist? No. Not only do you not cease to exist, other people are more fond of you when you stop complaining. So then if you when do I stop complaining? In sleep. There are no complaints. That's why everybody loves you when you sleep. because they don't have to deal with the complaints. Sleeping is a civic activity. It helps others. Okay. Yeah. So therefore you should sleep. Sleeping is seva for you and seva for everyone else also. So no complaints. In fact, you are in ananda when you don't have complaints. So Satchidananda, you, Satchidananda Atma, the self, you without complaints, still Satchidananda, with complaints, still Satchidananda. Without sorrow, still Satchidananda, with crying, Satchidananda, still Satchidananda only. Weeping, as though weeping Satchidananda. It has no effect on Satchidananda. This is what we call Lakshana. We understand the individual by the indicatory words Satchit Ananda that we have seen clearly. And all the other things. So we take on, we retain Satchidananda because that is intrinsic to the self. Without Satchidananda, there is no Atma. Atma and Satchidananda are not only synonyms, they are identical. So that which cannot be removed is retained. This is called bhaga. Bhaga means retaining it. And then that which is not intrinsic to the Satchidananda I is tyaga, is got rid of cognitively first. Cognitively got rid of, meaning it is not reckoned into this understanding of the equation because it is incidental to the I, incidental to the self. So, what are we retaining? Complaints, right? No. No, we are retaining Satchidananda, throwing out cognitively complaints and sorrows, fears, raga, dvesha, notions, samsara, all these things. Because they are intrinsic to the self. Feelings of lack, feelings of possessing this, that, or the other, all that is thrown out. Bhagatyaga Lakshanaya, through this mechanism called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Jahat, Jahal Lakshana, same, same another word. Jahat, leaving, Ajahat, not leaving, keeping, retaining. Retaining and getting rid of. So the 5 plus 4, which is the Jiva side, is now what? Satchidananda. That is the answer. And then we have to tackle the same thing, same exact thing, operation we have to do on the Ishvara side, which is a lot of fun. Oh, Ishvara, I cannot touch. OMG. No, see, well, what are the things that, what is Ishvara after all? Satchidananda wearing a crown. Satchidananda wearing the grand robes on which the word creator is embroidered in gold letters. Satchidananda having a wand, a magic wand that is deciding people's karmas and everything. And the wand is Bhagavati, Shakti, creatress. So, this Satchidananda, here Ishvara is Satchidananda plus. Jiva is also Satchidananda plus. Satchidananda plus ignorance. Ignorance, brings in its broods of complaints and sorrows, all that we removed. And on the Ishvara side, we have Satchidananda wearing the robe. I am a creator. I am the sustainer. I am the resolver of everything. Now, is the crown on Satchidananda? We cannot say on the head of Satchidananda because Satchidananda has no head, no form. So, is this crown on Satchidananda glued? Is some kind of crazy glue put on Satchidananda, this crown? No. The crown is in relation to the Jagat. when there is such an entity called Jagat that needs to be manifest, that needs to be taken back, and partially like the dinosaurs were, or completely in between the yugas, pralaya, and needs to be sustained in between the cycles of creation and resolution, then this crown as though comes because of this Shakti. Shakti also is an as though Shakti, which endows the Satchidananda with Ishwaratvam. Ishwaratvam, Ishwarahood. So Ishvara is a hoodie. Yes, if it helps you understand that, you can see Ishvara is wearing a golden hood, golden crown, we studded with gems, whatever you want. And then what? This is not intrinsic to Satchidananda Atma. Ishvara is Satchidananda. Jiva is Satchidananda. Jivatvam, mithya overlay over the jiva of all kinds of notions, starting with ignorance of the self, which morph into various notions. And on the Ishvara side, the Jagat Karta status, the creator of the Jagat, Jagat Dharta, the sustainer of the Jagat, Jagat Samharta, the resolver of the Jagat. These are all statuses and epithets on to Satchidananda, which again by Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana, we retain the Satchidananda Ishvara, and Ishwaratvam, the Ishvara-ness is gone. Don't say Ishvara is mithya. Ishvara is not mithya. Ishvara-ness is mithya. Jiva-ness is mithya. Then what is Jiva? Ishvara alone. OMG, how to assimilate this? Well, we have a very classic example of the wave and the ocean. The sad wave was just lapping at the shore. And then it was so sad. It was recalling its life. 2 years ago, I was a tsunami and I just ate for breakfast 10 cities, by the 10 towns by the shore. And I ate 150 villages for lunch. And this is who I was. I had coverage throughout in all the global papers and media. And then now nobody even knows me. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. Here I am. Don't even have enough energy to reach the shore and come back. Sad wave I am. And this wave of sadness was very, very upset with itself. And then there came another wave, smaller than this wave, very happy, cheerful, and running back and forth. And this sad, grumpy wave said to the small wave, "Why are you so cheerful? The world is so sad." And the cheerful wave said, "Why are you so sad? Because that is what is an aberration. That is the aberration. That I am cheerful is not an aberration." Well, how much time you got? I have a whole history. This is my biography. The paper was wet, but still you could read. And this is my biography. Look at my life and look at where I am now. And the small cheerful wave happened to be a Vedanta teacher wave, a guru wave from the Atlantic Ocean. And then the guru wave teaches the wave of sadness, that you are not a wave at all. You are the ocean. Oh, no, no, no. Ocean is God. I am at best odd. How ocean is limitless and I have just a little bit of, span of motion. Ocean is limitless. Well, what what are you composed of? They say, I am H2O, water. Then what is the ocean composed of? Well, come to think of it, that is also water. Then, of course, you are the ocean. If I tell somebody to go touch the ocean, what do? They touch the wave. If I tell three people, if I tell the first person, please go touch the ocean, they touch the wave, come back. I tell the next person, go touch the ocean and come back. They touch the wave and come back. I tell the third person, go touch the water and come back. They also touch the wave and come back. Wave is a name and form. Ocean is your truth. That the ocean is away from you is but a notion. It is not real, because all there is ocean, and that all there is water. Ocean is an upadhi. Upadhi means a name and form, a limitless upadhi, a name and form that has been given to this ocean. You shall be known as ocean, and you shall be known as wave. Wave also is a small, finite upadhi. Upadhi is like the crystal with a colored cloth behind it. Remove the upadhi, the colored cloth, the crystal is again that which represents Satchidananda, Ishvara, nameless, formless, the truth of everything, all knowledge, sentience. That is what you are. And if the wave ocean example is assimilated properly, we will immediately be able to see that the equation is not between wave and water. That doesn't cut through the samsara. The equation, therefore, is not between Jiva and Satchidananda. That doesn't cut through the pain and the sorrow. Okay, everything is Satchidananda. I am also Satchidananda, big deal. No. The equation is between Jagat Karanam Brahma, Brahman as the cause of the universe, because that is where the division is. That is where the bhava, the feeling that I am alienated is. That is where the feeling of smallness and the feeling of being overridden by all these other forces out of my control, that is where it is. And this jnanam is not an out of body experience. This knowledge, you don't have to jump out of the body and quote unquote become one with the Ishvara. No, you are already one with Ishvara. The truth of the body, Ishvara, truth of the mind, Ishvara. This is a cognitive understanding. Cognitive understanding of first, that is spurred in stages. First, Ishvara Pranidhanam, surrender to Bhagavan, and then learning to come to a place of acceptance of what is. In other words, going with the flow. And for the person who goes with the flow, then after a while of this, the person becomes one with the flow. All that there is the flow. And so the prayer of every jignasu, the seeker of knowledge, must be, let there be more of Ishvara and less of me, in me, as me. More of Ishvara means more growth, more maturity, more emotional stability, more accommodation, more kindness to the self and others, more compassion. Less of me means less complaints, less of the hold of raga, dvesha. And like I said yesterday, the clearing is very important. The clearing of the heart, of the thicket of all the hoarded notions, some inherited through the family legacy in the form of big trunks of grudges and complaints. All that has to be taken out. Oh, but the show called Hoarders had a TV personality. What about me? That is called teacher. Teacher is the one that throws all the boxes the notions out. Through how? Through the teachings. The teachings themselves allow one to grow to a place of dismantling the notions that do not belong. And what shines in and as the person is Ishvara. And that's why Uddalaka says to Shvetaketu, Tat Sat, that Sat which I had described earlier in this sixth chapter is Tat Sat, Sa Atma is nothing but this self which is you. O Shvetaketu, Tat-Tvam-Asi. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.